Welcome to Bloomers in the Garden. I'm Len Schroeder.
And I'm Julio Zamora.
Joe from Parsippany called, and he asked about what he should be doing about his lawn.
During our second segment, we're going to stay on the lawn and discuss fall seeding techniques.
This week we had two listeners contact us about the same question, Dorothy and Arlene. They were so close, we thought they were from the same person. They asked about reusing potting soil, and we have the answer.
Pat from Philly called the Bloomers in the Garden hotline and had some great points on hardy mums and commented about her own local garden center.
Finally, in this week's What's Buggin You segment, we're going to talk about what to do when you have the same plant disease year after year. It's more than a study on a plant or an insect disease. It's more of a technique that you'll use to help clean that up.
So get out your pens and papers and get ready to take notes, and we'll be back in the garden right after these messages. Bloomers in the Garden is brought to you each week by Bloomers Home and Garden Center. Bloomers is an award-winning garden center just 20 minutes from Philadelphia. Bloomers has been providing expert advice turning brown thumbs green for over 30 years. At Bloomers, we want you to ask us every question, even if you think it's silly. We share information in a friendly, non-judgmental way that is meant to teach and spread the joy of gardening. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center in Washington Township, Gloucester County. For directions, go to bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden.
Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden.
Fertilome's broad-spectrum insecticide contains bifithrin, which is a highly recommended product to control the spotted lanternfly. Available as both a ready-to-use and a concentrate, they are a water-based, low-odor, non-staining insecticide formulation. Fertilome's broad-spectrum insecticide may be used indoors or outdoors. It provides up to 4 months residual control indoors and up to 6 weeks residual control outdoors. Fertilome's broad-spectrum insecticide kills a wide variety of insects, including fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, roaches, ants, spiders, earwigs, crickets, and grasshoppers. Fertilome's broad-spectrum insecticide may be used around the perimeter of the home, on lawns, trees, shrubs, flowers, and even vegetables. So, the next time you visit your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilome's broad-spectrum insecticide and expect to have the best-looking plants and landscape in the neighborhood.
Green Acres Nursery and Garden Center, West County Line Road, Colmar, Pennsylvania. Urban's Garden Center, Chestnut Street, Emmis, Pennsylvania. Laurel Oak Garden Center, Thompson Mill Road, Marlton, New Jersey. You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or hear us on the radio each weekend. Every Saturday morning, Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley, first at 8 a.m. on Talk 860 WWDB, and again at 9 a.m. on AM 800 WTMR. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard through the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 a.m. WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Julio, fall is the perfect time to reestablish your lawn. Mm-hmm. And you know, Joe from Parsippany called, and he had the perfect timing to question. You called him, right?
Right.
And listen, this is what he asked. He wanted to know all about his lawn, and listen to what he had to say.
Hi, this is Joe. I live in Parsippany. I wanted to put something down in my grass to, I guess, make it healthy and stronger. I got a lot of crabgrass, but what can I put down? Thank you.
Perfect.
Wow.
Perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
First thing, crabgrass, right?
Yeah.
Crabgrass is not long for this world because it dies out every time we get a frost.
Yeah.
And then it turns brown, and what does it do? It drops its seed,
Mm-hmm.
and they germinate when? In the spring.
Yeah.
So nothing happens now because they can't take the cold weather. But we have an edge in the fall season with seeding. And that's what we're going to talk about seeding in our next segment. But one of the things you talked to him about was pH, right?
Oh, yeah. Critical.
Tell me, why?
Well, because if you don't have that pH level right,
Right?
the root systems can't absorb the nutrients in the ground.
Right. They get locked up.
Yeah.
So no matter how much fertilizer you're throwing on your lawn, it's not getting green because it's not able to absorb the nutrient value because of the pH problem. So we used to do it old school, right?
Yeah.
Dolomitic limestone, those 40 or 50 pound bags. Your feet will be covered in white dust.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you're glad they're gone, huh?
they're still around. You can still find it, but
gosh.
it's one bag covered like 1,000 square feet, and that was just to maintain it. So,
oh, brother.
I mean, for me, those days are over.
Yeah.
I'm not touching. There are so many better ways. Like, for instance, there's fast-acting lime now. And that's the one, you're looking for a fast-acting lime. There's lightning lime from Espoma. That's a really good one. And I like that because it's using, it's not dolomitic limestone, but it's calcium carbonate. And you get 5 times the coverage of pelletized lime.
Oh, brother.
So a 30-pound bag is going to cover your entire lawn. And again, that's if you're 5,000 square foot. Let's make that very clear. No dust. I mean, you always knew it looked like, some guy trying to do lines at the football field got a little drunk and they get everybody's lawn. Everybody's lawn is powdery white. No more.
Oh,
no
brother.
more.
Yeah.
When you're using, again, you're using calcium carbonate. You're getting also micronutrient beneficials, micronutrients. Like, for instance, you're also getting some magnesium, which is important for plants. Speaking of magnesium,
yes.
What's our favorite?
Jonathan Green Magical is our favorite.
It is. And then it now is Magical Plus, and it has a lot of benefits beyond just adjusting your pH. We can just get that out of the way. It will adjust your pH to back to neutral, which is 7, as on the scale. When you're going to go into your local garden center, give them a call ahead of time and make sure they're doing soil testing. All of the other elements in your soil, this may sound awful, and I'm going to get people from Rutgers call me, but I don't think you need to know anything other than knowing what your pH is. pH determines everything. The other nutrient value, the plants will absorb what they need. Anyway, back to lime and back to pH and all those things. Instead of using a lime, you're going to use Jonathan Green Magical Plus. It breaks up clay soil because there's a certain amount of gypsum that's in it, and it also uses calcium carbonate. But it has gypsum, it has humates. Humic acid is derived from humus, and it improves the soil so much. And it's not talked about enough. So we're talking about it now. Humic acid will help your lawn without having to add peat moss or trying to use a soil amendment. Once your lawn's established, you can't go dig it up and adjust your soil, but humic acid basically does that. Also within the Magical, it has iron. Iron will make your lawn green, make your lawn real green, and that it has wood biochar in it. So it has organic matter in a pelleted form. Wow. And with the iron and the other things, it's my number one. Yeah. And we talked about on the show before that Magical is the same thing. We had a couple of weeks ago, Harold called. Harold had a problem with it blossom end rot, and it's a calcium deficiency. You can use it in your garden as well. Great? Your garden as well. Yeah. So that is totally key.
Yeah, really. It's science right there, huh?
That's right.
Wow.
All right. So first thing, pH. Second thing, what are you going to do with the weeds that are in your yard? Now, this is if you're not going to seed or you're just going to seed in spots. You need to control those overwintering broadleaf weeds like dandelion and plantain. Also, I mean, I have Kalinga, which is a type of sedge, which any of you that have had nut sedge kind of know what I'm talking about. Kalinga is like a dwarf sedge.
Yeah.
It looks kind of nice right now. It's a little paler green. It's got finer blade. I actually had somebody come in the store asking for the seeds for it.
Oh, yeah. You're going to be kidding me.
No, wish I was. Anyway.
We'll be sawing that.
Yeah. No, we won't either.
No, we won't.
It is invasive. And just like crabgrass, if it's in a shaded area of your lawn, it doesn't grow. Yeah. So anyway, that I would control your broadleafs and your nut sedge, and that we have one product you can use that will make that happen. And I always say use a liquid, right? I mean, when you're using a granular, like a weed and feed, you get some control out of it. But if you've got an issue, you really should use a spray because you get leaf coverage, and that controls the weed. So Fertilome Weed Out Nut Sedge Control uses sulfentrazone, and that is the active ingredient you want to look for. A lot of these products have different names, but the active ingredient is always on that bottle. So you want to start familiarizing yourself with some. Like that's why you and I always say Thrin, right? Yeah. Use the Thrins. Yeah, so Fertilome Weed Out Nut Sedge Control, that it will control sedges, but it also will control broadleafs like clover and plantain, chickweed, early spring weed, wild garlic. So those wild onion, those things that all of a sudden are in the middle of your
smelly.
Like people that have zoysia, like you,
Julio.
I
got plenty of them.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
Oh, I'll tell you what.
That it will work for that too. It's not going to hurt the zoysia grass. So, but it will control all those wild onions. I always like it when the zoysia grass hasn't really greened up yet, and everybody's lawn has like wild onions growing through it.
It's mine.
Yeah, like yours. All right. Yeah. So again, it's safe on that, and it's safe on all of the cool season grasses, like again, fuscues, perennial rye, Kentucky bluegrass, all of those. It's fine. But if nut sedge right now, it's bad. Oh yeah. I mean, I have it in my landscape beds where I need to either pull it or spray it. But if I spray it, it's in that cut flower garden.
Oh, you can't do that.
Yeah, it's a mess. Yeah. It's a mess. I've got to pull it.
Yeah.
So first thing.
Get out there and pull it, yep.
First thing that Joe should do, get his pH checked.
Yep.
And then the way that his pH is, you need to adjust his pH closest to 7, and that there are instructions on every package on how to do that. You either put more on or less on, So that where if you need to adjust your pH several points, you have to put more on, okay? If it's okay, you just want to maintain it, you put it at the other rate. And that's where, we're getting probably the 5,000 square foot per bag rate is if you're just maintaining it, if you have to adjust your pH. And usually it's acidic and that you need to adjust it. And that's in this area, in our listening area, everything you get affected from everything from from acid rain that comes from blows over from Philadelphia or New York, and all of a sudden it rains, and then that adjusts your pH. We get a lot of that with ponds too.
Sure.
And then the next thing is you're going to control those weeds. You need to control the weeds that are going to overwinter and be that much bigger next year. And that's the problem that you'll have. You're doing things right now for next spring.
Getting ready.
That's it. All right. We've got to take a break. We'll be back in the garden talking about seeding your lawn right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. and we'll see you in the garden. You know, some of our most frequent questions revolve around organic container gardening for houseplants, annuals, and of course, vegetables. Coast of Maine's Bar Harbor Blend organic potting soil is a lightweight soil mixture made with salmon, blueberry, lobster, and other compost, as well as calcium and chitin-rich lobster shells, sphagnum peat, perlite, and kelp meal. It is a great soil. And Coast of Maine's Bar Harbor organic potting soil is rich in organic material, creating lush, disease-resistant plants that require less watering, less feeding. Its rich, dark brown color provides the perfect balance between water retention and drainage needed for healthy plants. Coast of Maine's Bar Harbor Blend organic potting soil is available at these local retailers.
Pickering Valley Feed and Farm, Exton, Pennsylvania. Ashcombe Farm and Greenhouses, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Espen Shades Garden Centers and Greenhouse, Lidditz, Pennsylvania.
Your next houseplant is waiting for you in Bloomer's Home and Garden Center's greenhouse. Bloomers recognizes that houseplant choices are as important to your interior decorating as the fabric on your couch. The right plant, paired with the perfect container, can bring a dynamic change to your home. A houseplant brings life to your world and connects your home's interior to the greater outdoors. Even a small succulent placed on your coffee table has a way of connecting your living room to the Amazon rainforest. How about an air plant in your kitchen? Looking for an indoor flowering plant to add color to your plant palette? Bloomers has a large revolving assortment of flowering beauties. From aglaonemas to ZZ plants, Bloomers Greenhouse is stocked with your next favorite indoor plant. Bloomers carries a large selection of pottery and containers to match your home's decor and make any of your plants more beautiful. Bloomers experts can help you care for your plants and have the fertilizer, insecticides, leaf shine, and specialty soils you need to grow healthy and happy indoor plants. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center's greenhouse and make every room in your home a living room. Visit bloomers.com for more information. That's bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden. You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or hear us on the radio each weekend. Every Saturday morning, Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley, first at 8 a.m. on Talk 860 WWDB, and again at 9 a.m. on AM 800 WTMR. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard through the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 a.m. WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. So, what should you do if you have crabgrass or have bare spots and need to seed your lawn?
Oh, no.
That's a great question. That
It
is a
is.
question.
And we get it all the time.
Yep.
Everybody has to remember, crabgrass is an annual grass. Comes up in the spring, and that's why we put down a crabgrass control, right, everyone? Right, class? Mm-hmm. Everyone put down a crabgrass control in spring because it will stop the crabgrass. But you do it once, Julio?
No.
How many times do you put down a crabgrass control?
You do it twice.
And he's got his peace sign fingers up, so you know he means it.
Right.
If you do it once, you'll only get partial control. It's that late season crabgrass that germinates it. That's the problem. So you got to remember that. If you're going to seed, you better well put down a crabgrass control, because what you're going to have is crabgrass take over that new seed that you put down, and you don't want that.
So you're talking around March, April, right?
Do March. I like March and April, and it depends on what you use, and then we're going to touch on that. That I almost like to use two different controls, one that has dimension. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. First of all, all right, so you need to seed. Mm-hmm. You have bare spots, or you know that you've got so much crabgrass that you need to put in a mixture. What I like is a mixture of bluegrass and fescue, maybe a little bit of rye. That's in our Bloomers blend, by the way.
Bloomers blend, yeah.
And that we put down the rye because rye can germinate in about a week.
Quick.
Where bluegrass can take a month. Yeah. And where fescue is going to take about 2 weeks.
That's not too bad.
The key to all seed, and I don't care if it's vegetable seed, is good seed to soil contact. Grass seed germinates best when the soil temperatures, not the ambient temperature, so not the temperature of the air, the soil temperature is 55 degrees or higher. We have a long window in fall to be able to seed.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
It is. Yeah.
Especially when I say things like, bluegrass doesn't germinate for almost a month.
Yeah.
So, but the best way to get that seed into the soil for me in an established lawn is by using what's called a power seeder or a slit seeder. You're going to have to rent one. This isn't something that you can, buy unless you want to spend a couple $1,000. Wow. And that it's like a row of skill saw blades. Right. Bear with me. And it cuts a little groove in the soil. Right. And right behind those blades, it drops a little seed in. Oh, wow. And
how easy is that?
It's simple, but you've got to do it. Mm-hmm. Most people don't, but you've got to do it. And that's the best way. And it gets it right into where it needs to be. Mm-hmm. And it's the perfect way to get your lawn done. And I like to see people where they go on a checkerboard. So you run one way and then cross it the next way. And then you'll get really good control. And especially if you've got, like Joe, he has a crabgrass problem. I'm sorry to admit that so do I. I do. Shoemaker syndrome, everybody. That I need to do the same thing. I need to do the same thing. Right. Second choice, equipment you're going to rent. This is not something you're going to buy. But it's a core aerator. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about core aeration. It takes a little plug out of the soil, drops it on top of your lawn. Remember, we were talking about it looks like goose poop on your yard?
Yeah, it's right.
Anyway, but if you put down seed then, that it will wash into those, where those plugs were, right into the soil. And then as rain or water, your sprinkler system washes the soil off of the plug, it covers it up real nice. Wow. So then you have plugs of good seed, the seed that you want, in your lawn.
Beautiful.
I love that. I mean, maybe that's what I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, not a big fan of thatching and seeding. Maybe if you have bare spots, it might help. But honestly, thatching's for thatching. It's not going to get the seed in contact with the soil the way you need to. Mm-hmm. And you're going to basically waste a lot of seed. Yeah. When you power seed or slit seed, you get some benefits of thatching because those blades are kicking up thatch as they go through. Yeah. So just keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm. And the corator too, right?
Yep. Kind of corator. Well, yeah, because it's dividing it.
Dividing it up a
good
bit.
Point. Good point, Hole. Overseeding for winter. That's where you just kind of throw it around. And eventually maybe makes it to the soil. Sometimes it germinates on top of the thatch and dries out. Right. It's like throwing money around. Mm-hmm. It may not, it may work, it may not, I don't know. But for fall fertilizer, so when you see a fertilizer and it says fall fertilizer or winter fertilizer or something like that, most of the brands and Jonathan Green, there's probably one of the better ones. Greenview has one, or Lebanon. There's all they're basically all the same, where they are meant to build root systems, and that's what you want to do when you're seeding. So you don't have to in the fall buy a specific seeding type fertilizer. Now, on the flip side of that, if you buy a seeding fertilizer, you don't need to have a fall fertilizer, because it's basically a similar or almost identical analysis. Right. It's all about building roots. And that you have to make sure that you do put down after you seed. And you could do it all the same day. Mm-hmm. If you're going to seed, do not use fall weed controls. At best, you can spot seed or spot spray. But keep in mind, anywhere that's there that you spray is probably going to impact the germination of the new seed that you put down. So you should be very cautious with that. You could always do that in the spring. Bonide Weed Beater Ultra can be used when the ambient temperature is 45 degrees. So we'll talk about that in the spring. So we'll make sure you get that control. But if you seed, I would avoid trying to use any fall weed controls. Remember, most of the weeds that you're going to deal with are going to be crabgrass, which is going to die naturally on its own. So it's not like you're going to, there's no reason to even touch crabgrass from here on out. That's right. That's just a waste. But I can't say it enough. You have to be sure, if you're seeding now, that you're putting down a crabgrass preventer in the spring.
That's right.
If you don't, you just created a nice bed for your new grass plants and crabgrass.
Oh, gosh.
Right? I mean,
really.
if you're wasting money doing all that seeding and you don't put a crabgrass control,
Oh, brother.
the same thing applies that,
Right.
you're putting a little plug out of the ground
That's
or you're
right.
slit seeding, you're pushing crabgrass
Yep.
seeds into the. But if you put down a crabgrass control, it will distinguish between the good grass you want and crabgrass that you don't want.
Right. There you go, Joe.
There
Joe,
you
you
go.
got to get the right product in the spring, okay?
Right product in the spring, but you can there's a lot that you can do now.
Right.
There's a lot.
Oh, yeah, to get ready.
And don't worry about that crabgrass
No.
because the clock is ticking. It's as soon as we get a good frost, that's
Yeah.
going to be dead.
Yeah, they
Your
are.
lawn may look bad, but you'll have that seed in there that's starting to germinate, and as long as you seed. And the rule of thumb too, by the way, is if your lawn is more than 50% weeds,
Right.
it's time to start over.
Okay.
Don't try to renovate it.
Right.
It's time to eliminate it and start all over. So that means getting all that grass out of there. Any of that, more, again, 50% weeds.
Weeds, yeah.
You'll end up spending more time trying to renovate it. It's not going to be worth it.
Yeah, it's no good.
Any questions, Julio?
Yeah, is yours 50% or no?
I'm not saying. All right. Oh, we have to go to break now.
Yeah.
We'll be right back right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden.
Fertilome's broad-spectrum insecticide contains bifithrin, which is a highly recommended product to control the spotted lanternfly. Available as both a ready-to-use and a concentrate, they are a water-based, low-odor, non-staining insecticide formulation. Fertilome's broad-spectrum insecticide may be used indoors or outdoors. It provides up to 4 months residual control indoors and up to 6 weeks residual control outdoors. Fertilome's broad-spectrum insecticide kills a wide variety of insects, including fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, roaches, ants, spiders, earwigs, crickets, and grasshoppers. Fertilome's broad-spectrum insecticide may be used around the perimeter of the home, on lawns, trees, shrubs, flowers, and even vegetables. So, the next time you visit your favorite garden center, ask for Fertilome's broad-spectrum insecticide and expect to have the best-looking plants and landscape in the neighborhood.
Neighbors Garden Center, Main Street, Hellertown, PA. Rhodes Garden, Delcab Pike, North Wales, Pennsylvania. Rourke Farm Supply, Elmer, New Jersey. The Bird Sanctuary at Bloomer's Home and Garden Center is dedicated to the care and feeding of wild birds. We carry a flock of feeders like the Brome Squirrel Proof Feeder, which has a lifetime guarantee. Brome makes fantastic feeders for frustrating squirrels and feeding songbirds. Bloomer's Bird Sanctuary has a vast selection of wild bird seed, suet, seed cakes, and mealworms. We carry Lyric, Coles, C&S, Pine Tree Farms, and our own line called Bloomer's Blend. Bloomer's Blend Songbird Magnet contains premium black oil sunflower, peanut splits, millet, safflower, and tree nuts. It's sure to attract the most colorful songbirds to your yard. Bloomer's Home and Garden Center is located in Washington Township in Gloucester County, New Jersey. Visit us online at www.bloomers.com. When you come in, ask for Shirley Spurbeck, Bloomer's Wild Bird Specialist. Mention you heard it on Bloomers in the Garden Radio, and we'll give you $10 off a 20-pound bag of Bloomer's Blend Songbird Magnet Mix. You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or hear us on the radio each weekend. Every Saturday morning, Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley, first at 8 a.m. on Talk 860 WWDB, and again at 9 a.m. on AM 800 WTMR. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard through the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 a.m. WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden. Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Hey, this week we had 2 listeners contact us about the same question, Dorothy and Arlene. They were so close, we thought they might be from the same person. And listen, here's what the text said.
Hi, my name is Dorothy, and I'm interested to know we plant tomato plants every year in potting soil, which we go out and buy. Is there any chance we should buy using new every year or mix compost with it? Can you answer that question for me? Thanks. Goodbye.
So, I mean, it's a great question.
It is.
I replace my soil every year.
Yes.
And you replace yours every year?
Yeah.
Now, and here's the thought process where soils and potting soils, let me back up. Potting soils and even some of the commercial blended like tomato soil, even like bumper crop, those are predominantly peat moss. Right. Peat moss does not have very much nutrient value in it whatsoever, but it's the additives that are added to it that make it so that it has nutrient value. I'm trying to think of a comparison, but once the nutrients are sucked out of it by the plants, that there's nothing left on most of the soil. So it has to be replenished. I like to just start fresh, and I'll take that soil and maybe dump it into the garden where it can be turned over, add it to the landscape bed, somewhere where you need a soil amendment where it improves the existing soil. So if you add, now this is not for potting, this is only in gardens, okay? Gardens or landscapes where if you have the existing soil in the ground and that your regular loam that we've talked about before, regular topsoil that's actually part of your ground, that you mix together that old potting soil, the actual tilth of your soil will improve and it will help it that way. But as far as nutrient values, it's been pretty much sucked out of it. Now, I went, Coast of Maine, let me just say, bottom line, makes the absolute best potting soils and soil amendments on the planet, okay? That what they do is that it's just amazing how many different soils that they have based on their use, and that they use organics to supplement, not like a fertilizer charge the way some of the miracle soils do. It was like that? That was good, huh?
It was good.
So where, that's peat moss with the charge of fertilizer, and once the charge of fertilizer is gone, you have a bag of peat moss. And it's water soluble on top of that. Anyway, so Coast of Maine, don't buy anything other than Coast of Maine potting soil.
They're very specialized, aren't they?
They are. Now, I wanted to contact Cameron from Coast of Maine to see what was his view on it. And I was actually a little bit surprised where I told him, I said, listen, I change my soil, and I tell my customers to change their soil because it does get sapped out. What did Cameron say, Julio?
He said her soil will be exhausted like a first-time mother breastfeeding her child, and this will give it the boost it needs.
Cameron is a different guy.
Yeah, he is.
They are organic conscience, all right? So let's just, they make excellent products. But he said to add Stonington.
Stonington, yes.
Now, they have fertilizers now, and that organic charge of fertilizer it's called Stonington. What is it called?
Stonington Plant Food.
Stonington Plant Food by Coast of Maine, where that will replenish and give that the nutrient value back into that potting soil. You got to mix it in. You've got to pull it out. By the time you pull when it's filled with roots, there's barely any soil left.
I know. That's what happens.
That's what, And so really, if you basically compost that or turn it into your garden soil, then you're better off. But if you have enough loose soil, you can do something like that. He's got a point. But that's if you're using Coast of Maine or like the Master Nursery products, because those soils have a good organic base of nutrient value, not supplemented by inorganic. So meaning fertilizer. Like they just throw fertilizer in, and that's what your plant's living off of, where it's going to break it rather than break down into the elements and become part of the soil. It basically gets used up.
Yeah.
I don't know. She said that she had tomato plants, right?
Right.
So what if it's a raised garden? What if it's a raised bed? Do you change your raised bed soil, Julio?
No, that I don't. I just throw in more of my compost blends from Coast of Maine. That's what I do.
Okay, so you're adding bumper crop back in.
Right.
The Stonington blend would be perfect for that.
Perfect, yeah.
They have a new soil that's out called Stonington Mix or something like that. It's in two cubic foot, and it is. And I hate to say it, but it's mostly for cannabis.
Oh, it is. Okay.
But the same soil, the same soil requirements for that is the same thing as vegetables. I mean, it's a little different crop, different use, but with cannabis becoming legal, like in New Jersey, we still don't know the rules. Governor Murphy, can we please have those so I can know whether I can have people grow plants or whether I want to make the moral decision. We had a whole show on the moral decision of selling products for people to grow cannabis. And I still have a problem with it. Right. But I don't know. Yeah. If I don't sell it to someone else will.
Yeah, they will.
So morality versus the capitalist.
That's right.
That's my problem.
That's a dilemma.
But let's get back.
Yeah.
Columnar, if you have evergreens in pots, you're not going to be able to change the soil. Yeah, so you have to add nutrients. Like Espoma, I would choose for organic, polymer coated fertilizers. Like for instance, Classic Coat is a perfect choice.
That's a good one.
Really good. It has like a 3-month charge. So 3-month release, you have to do it every 3 months. But I would go, bottom line, I would replace that soil if you can, as far as in annuals or in vegetables, if they're in self-contained pots. If it's in a raised bed, you've got to improve that soil, change that soil, add that Stonington blend. Then you're really talking. It'll be great.
It'll be really good.
It'll be great. But don't try to get the most out of that potting soil that, you bought at Home Depot. That because more than likely that's that's just plain peat that has a fertilizer charge. That's why we keep telling you, go to your local garden center. Go to your local garden center. But Pat in a call coming up has something to say about that.
Okay, good.
No, so in any case, replace the soil. If you have soil left, you're going to need to amend it. By the time you amend that soil, you could just pay for a new bag, and it probably would be the same price.
Same thing. Yeah.
Consider using the Stonington fertilizer to recharge. Again, it's an organic. It's an amazing product.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing product. But anything to add, Julio?
No, I think we hit it all.
We hit it all.
Yep.
All right. We'll be back in the garden right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. Your next houseplant is waiting for you in Bloomers Home and Garden Center's greenhouse. Bloomers recognizes that houseplant choices are as important to your interior decorating as the fabric on your couch. The right plant paired with the perfect container can bring a dynamic change to your home. A houseplant brings life to your world and connects your home's interior to the greater outdoors. Even a small succulent placed on your coffee table has a way of connecting your living room to the Amazon rainforest. How about an air plant in your kitchen? Looking for an indoor flowering plant to add color to your plant palette? Bloomers has a large revolving assortment of flowering beauties. From aglaonemas to ZZ plants, Bloomers Greenhouse is stocked with your next favorite indoor plant. Bloomers carries a large selection of pottery and containers to match your home's decor and make any of your plants more beautiful. Bloomers experts can help you care for your plants and have the fertilizer, insecticides, leaf shine, and specialty soils you need to grow healthy and happy indoor plants. Visit Bloomers Home and Garden Center's greenhouse and make every room in your home a living room. Visit bloomers.com for more information. That's bloomers.com, and we'll see you in the garden.
Dreaming of a gorgeous garden? Give your azaleas, rhododendron, blueberries, and evergreens a powerful boost with the #1 acid-loving plant food, Espoma Organic Hollytone. Hollytone is a perfect blend of natural, long-lasting ingredients that nourish plants for stronger roots, faster growth, and bountiful blooms. Plus, it's easy to use and safe for people, pets, and planet. Visit espoma.com for a retailer near you and helpful gardening tips. Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929.
You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or hear us on the radio each weekend. Every Saturday morning, Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley, first at 8 a.m. on Talk 860 WWDB and again at 9 a.m. on AM 800 WTMR. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard through the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 a.m. WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Well, Len, we got a call on the Bloomers in the Garden hotline from one of our favorites. Pat covers a whole host of topics with her call.
Could be a whole show.
I think so, yeah. She's wonderful, though. Listen to what she has to say.
Hi, guys. This is Pat from Philly, your #1 fan. Hey, listen, Len, I went to my my local garden center to find some of that, the treatment for the fungus flies. Well, anywho, they were out of it. But the sales lady did recommend to put some sand on the soil and let it completely dry out. And she says that's another way of getting rid of those fungus flies. And I have a question about the chrysanthemums. Everywhere is chrysanthemums. My local garden center, the produce junction, the supermarkets are full of chrysanthemums. So when I asked the salesperson if I buy some chrysanthemums and just set them out on my patio, when they fold up for the season, can I plant them in the yard? She says no, because the chrysanthemums I see now in the shops and stores are just grown, especially just for a one-time season growth period. And she says to me, but if I'm interested in purchasing chrysanthemums that would come back, they did have them in the back of the store. So my question is, so there is a difference of chrysanthemums to be grown just for one season, and then there's chrysanthemums that come back? I told her no, I'm not going to bother with chrysanthemums right now. I mean, I really like them. I was going to grab me a pot or two, but I'm going to wait till I get rid of my colossal elephant ears. Well, all right then, guys. Well, I love your show. Oh yeah. Can I say hi to my two fan mates, to Pearl and Howard? Hi, guys. I love their questions, and I love you guys' answers. Okie dokie. All right. Be listening out. Bye.
Wow.
Loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. First of all, your IGC Independent Garden Center didn't have imidacloprid to control the fungus gnats.
Yep.
There are some shortages going around right now, especially this time of the year. Still look for systemic granules. Sand on top of the soil.
What happens is that it starves off the fungus gnats because they can't get to the organic matter. But what happens is the next time you water those things, it's going to bring up the other soil that they can feed on. So, it may work for a little while. Don't recommend it. I still go back to the imidacloprid, and that's the active ingredient. So you're looking for systemic granules for houseplants. Mums. You got a loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
All right, Pat, here's how it works. You have to ask for hardy mums. Most of the mums that you see, the garden mums that you see, they're 9-inch pots. Like at Bloomers, they're like $6 or so. I think they're 4 for 26. I don't know, something like that. Those are hardy mums. They are forced for this time of the year. It ends up, and they naturally bloom this time of the year, so they're cut back and they're shaped so that it makes them real full and beautiful. I hate mums. I hate mums just because as a perennial, they're ugly most of the year. Yeah. And that most of those mums are hardy. Right. And that you'll put them somewhere, but you got to hide them. It's like, it's like, oh, those are our ugly plant section because they look like green weeds all year long until who wants to save a plant for, 9 months and then get it to bloom. Right. And then it doesn't bloom real full unless you cut it back. Yeah. And we're going to have a whole segment on mums and not too long from now. Pat, get out the checkbook. Come on, they're $6 a piece. Yeah. If you only want a few, just go ahead and get them. It's cheaper than a Happy Meal at McDonald's.
It is cheaper, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. I had pizza the other night. It was $40.
Oh my God! What kind of pizza is that?
It was not fancy. I will not say the name of the restaurant.
All right.
But I mean, it was good, but it was not $40.
My goodness.
Ooh, don't get me started on the price of food.
No, it's going on.
I went to Jersey Mike's yesterday. $25 for two sandwiches.
No.
Yeah. I mean, it was great.
Yeah?
It was really good. And being a North Jersey guy, it was a sub, okay? Not a hoagie. But we're going to get hate mail, Julio.
Oh, I know.
Any complaints, go to Julio Zamora, Carol, Bloomers in the Garden. Anyway, Pat, get the mums. Yeah. Pearl, like the necklace. Yep, we love Pearl.
Yeah, we love Pearl.
Yeah.
And Harold.
And Harold? Harold's our carnivorous plant guy.
Yeah, Mr. Carnivorous.
All right. All right. We're going to be right back right after this. Hi, this is Len Schroeder from Bloomers in the Garden. Do you have a landscape, garden, or plant question? If so, call or text us using the Bloomers in the Garden hotline. Dial 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. Don't be shy. We want to hear from you. Call or text us and let us know what problems you're facing. Let us know how we're doing. Call or text 609-685-1880. If we use your comment on the air, we'll send you a free Bloomers t-shirt. Call or text us at 609-685-1880. That's 609-685-1880. And we'll see you in the garden. You know, some of our most frequent questions revolve around organic container gardening for houseplants, annuals, and of course, vegetables. Coast of Maine's Bar Harbor Blend Organic Potting Soil is a lightweight soil mixture made with salmon, blueberry, lobster, and other composts, as well as calcium and chitin-rich lobster shells, sphagnum peat, perlite, and kelp meal. It is a great soil. And Coast of Maine's Bar Harbor Organic Potting Soil is rich in organic material, creating lush, disease-resistant plants that require less watering, less feeding. Its rich, dark brown color provides the perfect balance between water retention and drainage needed for healthy plants. Coast of Maine's Bar Harbor Blend Organic Potting Soil is available at these local retailers.
Tony's Farm and Garden, Windsor, New Jersey. Espen Shades Garden Centers and Greenhouse, Lidditz, Pennsylvania. Pickering Valley Feed and Farm, Exton, Pennsylvania. Dreaming of a gorgeous garden? Give your azaleas, rhododendron, blueberries, and evergreens a powerful boost with the #1 acid-loving plant food, Espoma Organic Hollytone. Hollytone is a perfect blend of natural, long-lasting ingredients that nourish plants for stronger roots, faster growth, and bountiful blooms. Plus, it's easy to use and safe for people, pets, and planet. Visit espoma.com for a retailer near you and helpful gardening tips. Espoma, a natural in the garden since 1929.
You're listening to Bloomers in the Garden Radio. Listen anytime through your favorite podcast provider or hear us on the radio each weekend. Every Saturday morning, Bloomers in the Garden Radio is heard in Philadelphia and throughout the whole Delaware Valley, first at 8 a.m. on Talk 860 WWDB, and again at 9 a.m. on AM 800 WTMR. On Sunday at 8 a.m., we can be heard through the New York tri-state area on Classic Oldies, 1250 a.m. WMTR. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the garden.
Welcome back to Bloomers in the Garden. Hey, this is the What's Buggin You segment. We're going to talk about fall leaf and garden cleanup. So we're not going to talk about a bug or disease, but what we're talking about is why do you do a cleanup? Why do you pick up those leaves?
Sure.
Roses come to mind first. If you've got black spot and you're leaving your leaves there over winter, guess what? Next year, those plants will be infected. Last week we talked about that shotgun disease, right? That shot hole disease. I think it's shot holes. Shotgun for some reason anyway.
Yeah.
Shot hole leaves where that stays around underneath those plants, infected for next year. So many times you need to have good cultural practices and make sure that you clean up, not just think, oh, I'll just turn it in or cucumbers. We talked about cucumbers last week, right?
Yeah,
Had a caller, vine collapse. I think it was Vincent.
I think so.
Right? Vincent from, I think he's up in Bergen County. Anyway, same thing. Cucumber beetles will overwinter in that rotting debris, and that you'll have that same disease that they're spreading. It's sitting in their soil, and it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a big problem. So you want to make sure that you're cleaning up any of the diseased plants that are in your garden, and you're going to have to put them in a refuse pile. If you're thinking about using them in a composter, that composter needs to get hot enough to kill them. But if it's something like the cucumber beetles, that's going in a refuse pile. I'm not composting that because you're bringing it back next year. Even the same thing with black spot. I'm cleaning it up, and it's going to go into the landfill where, or usually when you're doing your recycling and you have your yard recycling and your leaves are picked up, that goes into a company that makes soil out of it, but the temperatures get so hot that it's going to kill all those pathogens as opposed to trying to do it on your own. So don't just blindly turn it over. Please don't do that. But clean up those leaves. Don't leave them over winter because guess what? You're going to have the same problem next year. Same problem next year. So just make sure you're doing that. Cultural practices are key. All right, we got to go to break again. We'll be right back right after this.